The trade issues between China and the US have once again heated up. If you look at the stock market, however, the algorithms have clearly been programmed to ignore it. It's been going on for a year and actually just escalated to its worst point, and the market doesn't care. Nothing can go wrong because they'll make a deal, right? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at what's happening between China and the US. We have seen the tensions escalating dramatically. I'm going to get into the articles that you need to see. I'll look at some charts as well. I have a lot of data to cover. Let's begin by taking a look at this. The president of China is calling for a, quote, new long march. This is a dramatic sign that China is preparing for a protracted scenario between these two countries. Obviously, we have seen over the last year, both sides have been putting out the rhetoric. They've been saber rattling. They have been doing everything that they can to try and make sure that they are victorious. It's not about agricultural purchases. It's not about simple things that you've been hearing. This is about hegemony. This is about dominance. Each of these countries wants to remain victorious in this trade deal because it makes them look more powerful, stronger. And of course, this is what we've been battling now for years. That's been going on as you see China starting to grow in significance around the world. They were included in the IMF basket of currencies. They have started the AIIB. There's a lot of infrastructure that they are building in different places around the world. They're doing partnerships with areas of Africa and Europe and all places around the world. In fact, they have been doing these currency swaps with other countries, billions and billions of dollars worth. And meanwhile, we've seen the US growing ever more isolated because of things that they have done, and the world doesn't really have a choice in many cases. They've been dealing with the world's reserve currency, that is the US dollar, and so the US has a monopoly. Also, the US has, some individuals that sit around in bases everywhere across the world, making sure that everything stays status quo. Obviously, there's some tensions now because China is trying to say, you know what, we are picking up steam here and we are not going to allow this to continue. This is going to be something that goes on for decades and decades and decades. This trade issue that we're talking about today is just one small piece of the puzzle. We are now embarking on a new long march and we must start all over again. So everything that you've seen in the media out there, they were 95% complete. It's all done. Stock markets rise and then nothing happens. Okay, it's just going to be 90 days. It's a hard line. We're going to get it done. Well, actually, on second thought, no hard line and let's just no rush here. Not at all. Then we got to this point where at the end of the week, we're going to sign the documents. Everything's ready to go. Stock market rises. And of course, we get to near the end of the week. No rush, nothing here, no reason to do so. The same situation over and over again. Stocks don't even go down as a result. It's hilarious. They can push this off literally forever. In fact, in many cases, we've already seen, I've shown you here before, I think it was up to 2025 for certain factors. They could take until, it's a joke really at this point, but it doesn't matter because the algorithms are all trading based on that information anyway. And clearly they've been programmed to ignore the bad news. China downplays chances for trade talks while the US plays little tricks. Just want to show you this as both sides are basically saying it's that guy's fault, it's this guy's fault. And ultimately, neither of them are sitting down at the table and actually discussing it, trying to overcome the problems. But of course, as I said, it's not about a trade deal here. It's about hegemony. Here you can see the US dollar versus the Chinese currency, and we are getting closer and closer to the 7 mark. 7 to the US dollar. As you can see, over the last couple years, there have been a few moments where we've gotten very close. We're back at that point now. So this right here, just for your reference, is the 7 line. And obviously, we're at 6.93 right now, and it really has been controlled around this time frame to push it down after we saw this from 2017 into 2018. We saw this going in through the end of the year, but ever since the tensions have escalated, the foreign exchange markets have clearly been picking up on what's happening. I'm interested to see how this really is affected. Will it be allowed to cross the 7 mark, or will the national team intervene? Will we see some of that intervention that clearly has been present in many previous instances? From the South China Morning Post, Shanghai posts fourth straight week of losses as investors take flight in escalating trade tensions. The foreign investors in particular selling more Chinese stocks so far this month than in all of April. So there is something going on. Definitely, they're worried and they are thinking to themselves it's better to get out, and they're putting that money elsewhere. We've seen it going into fixed income, for example. The tech shares have obviously benefited as a result of this. We're watching a lot of different changes that are going on in the portfolios of these major institutions. They're going into more safety type stocks and fixed income. Here you can see some of that intervention. I just wanted to touch on a couple points. In the top left corner, the national team ownership slightly declined in the first quarter of 2019. You could see that there. Obviously, they have been intervening for a while. They do have ownership of a lot of these different stocks and things. So we can see how the changes go over the last little while. On the right-hand side, the top flows from the national team were muted in the past 2 quarters. Just wanted to give you that information. There's some other details at the bottom there if you want to pause the video or look at the link in the description. The amount of A-share buybacks has surged since the CSRC announced new rules to support share repurchase in last November. That has been going up considerably. This doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, look what's happening in the United States, for example. The stock buybacks are the name of the game. They've learned what they can do there, so obviously they're doing the same thing. This is just really quick. Over 150 equity mixed mutual funds have been liquidated since the second half of 2018. And then last on the China issue, opting out, some of China's 996 tech tribe quit, seek less stress. So this is just something that I did a video on, if you remember, basically talking about Jack Ma, Alibaba, 996. You work 9 to 9 and you do so 6 days a week. You should be honored to do that and so on. But many individuals there are saying this is too much work. We don't want this. We want to work a normal, standard way of living and actually be able to go home and not have to sleep under our desk. So we got big changes going on all around the world, in fact. Now I'm going to touch on some other issues that if I didn't get into this video, I'm definitely not going to be able to get to them in others. So just stay with me if you want some more information. If you're looking for specifically China-related issues, then that's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one. Home sales fell in April despite a big drop in mortgage rates. We saw what happened with mortgage rates recently. They had come down quite a bit, okay? So we were nearing that 5% mark, and at this point, it was looking very, very tough. Then we saw these mortgage rates coming down, and that did, in fact, very little. It did boost up the sales, okay? It didn't really do much for the prices necessarily, but obviously, when you have lower interest rates, it means people can borrow more, and prices did come up a bit. However, it did not seem to do well in this most recent month. We're looking at April's numbers here. Sales of existing US homes fell 0.4% in April compared with March. I think it's really important to note that this is the 14th straight month of annual declines. The numbers here are looking very grim, that's for sure. You can see the chart form, existing home sales year over year, 14 months in a row. It is unbelievable. This is something a little different. Rotting trash piles sky high in LA, attracting rats and raising concerns of a new epidemic. The amount of people that sleep on the streets today in places like LA, but really all over, has been dramatically escalating, just like the trade tensions with China and the US. It is unbelievable. At the same time, you have these multi-million-dollar properties that are going up all over the place, whether it's Beverly Hills, whether you see that in Manhattan on Billionaires Row. It doesn't matter to me. All I am saying is that you look at this and have to understand how this is all happening. Of course, the central banks created this mess where you have a big divide in between the rich and the poor, and a lot of people do not recognize that fact, of course, because they weren't taught about it in school, and definitely the media isn't going to touch it. The USPS test out self-driving trucks for hauling mail. We'll see how this really happens, if it does occur on a timely schedule. There are a lot of these different companies doing these autonomous driving platforms that haven't worked out in order, in the way that they wanted to. And we'll see that, how long this is going to take. They are not really doing well at this point, but it's still in its infancy. Obviously, they're trying to go that way, all of these companies. So we'll see how long it takes. I just wanted to show you this because obviously it has an impact on the economy and the jobs that are associated with it. We're going towards more robotics, more automation, but we'll see how that affects individuals who are delivering this mail, delivering the packages, delivering the food, and the taxi drivers and Uber drivers and everything else that are simply not going to have a job anymore because they've been replaced simply with mapping software and sensors and cameras. And that's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, you are supporting me, supporting this channel, so I do appreciate that very much. If you want the foundation, history, the asset classes, all the details, everything surrounding money, then you can get that at these two books in the link in the description. Check it out. If you want the audiobook, that's available at themoneygps.com. If you want to know the real deal, really what's going on, if you haven't watched it already, this video gets into it all. You got to watch it. Click on it and I will see you there.